A year after Saint Therese's death, her sister Pauline, who had become prioress of the Lisieux Carmel, sent round her obituary, as was customary among Carmelite convents. However, this was an obituary with a difference. It was written by Therese herself. These were jottings about her childhood and her experience of Carmelite life that she wrote on and off at the request of her superiors. And Pauline put all these together and sent them round to the other Carmels in France exactly a year after Therese's death. Actually, she must have sent them much further than the Carmels, because remarkably, she had 2,000 copies printed, indicating that she had an inkling that she was on to something pretty hot. And soon a further 2,000 copies had to be printed, and so on every year, for her story of a soul, as Therese called it, spread like wildfire. It even began to be translated into other languages in the storm of glory that ensued over the following 25 years. And by the time Therese was canonized in 1925, over 2 million copies of the story of a soul had been sold in French alone, and it had been translated into 35 languages. This young French woman, unknown in her lifetime, had become a phenomenon, the greatest saint of modern times, with an appeal right across the spectrum of all of humanity. Early in life, Therese set out, as she said, to love Jesus, love him with a passion, love him like he had never been loved before. And it would appear that she succeeded. And in return, God cannot refuse her anything, because countless people can testify to her help over the past century or so. But most of all, it's the ordinary people who found in her a friend and a companion as they go about their daily lives. So, what's the secret of her attraction for people? Why is she so popular right across the board? Why the phenomenal crowds, even today, as her relics travel around the world? Therese went to the heart of the gospel. She searched the scriptures and found there the God of love and tenderness, a loving Father who welcomes his children with open arms and understands their frailties. She developed an unbounded trust in God, an attitude of loving dependence by which she looked to God for everything that she needed. And this trust was proof against any darkness or hard knocks that she received in life, and there were plenty of those, because she suffered intensely in her short life, as we'll see at a later stage. A major part of the appeal Therese has for people is that she was so ordinary, so people can relate to her. All right, in many ways, her lifestyle was a million miles from that of most people, and by and large, she lived a sheltered life, both at home and in the Carmel. But the biggest part of most people's life is relationships, interacting with people in the cut and thrust of every day. And Therese certainly has something to say to us about all this. She committed herself totally and single-mindedly to love, irrespective of what response she met with or the unlovableness of some. Therese became a saint not because she lived in a perfect environment, but because of how she coped with what were often adverse circumstances. She came to see that grace is everywhere. As she said, everything is a grace. For her, every situation in life called for love, and there's no situation in which love is not possible, and that is a gift we can give to God, and the one he wants most of all. So when it comes down to it, this is the nitty-gritty of every life, whether in palace or prison, in convent or creche. It's our reaction to the circumstances in which we find ourselves that shapes us into what we become. And it's here that Therese meets us and walks with us in the daily grind, in the petty pace of life. She reassures us that God is satisfied with small steps, the offering of the bits and pieces of every day. Therese was fond of saying, God does not need our works, but only our love. He thirsts for our love, and when all is said and done, it's the only thing we can give him that he doesn't have. And we can love anywhere, anytime, as we go about our daily round. Therese shows us the preciousness of the small things of life. It's love that makes the difference. She says, doing ordinary things with extraordinary love. And that applies to us all. After all, it's not what we do that matters, but the love with which we do it.